What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Lil Revolution. I am Pancho Moeller, and this is my fantastic co-host,
Weeman.
There we go.
Wow.
You're here.
I'm here, and I have a little boner right now because of how excited you just got on this intro.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to ask you, do you have any exciting new news to talk about? Anything cool happened to you in the last few days?
Nothing too exciting. I've been doing more yoga. I did 2 extremely difficult classes yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I stayed home all day.
Do you rather have, is it a male teacher or a female teacher?
The majority is male. Okay. I mean, female, but okay. I have had male instructors.
What do you rather have, male or female?
Doesn't matter. They're just the instructor.
I know, but like, is one may be more gentle with you. The other one may, be a little harder.
I'm not getting personal training yoga classes.
Okay, well, I've done a yoga class before, and I've had them help me bend a certain, because for us little people, it's a little harder to bend. Do all the positions that everybody else is doing.
That's of
so
course.
When everyone is doing a certain position that you can't, do you do another one?
No, I try and just do my best that I can. And there are certain poses that I can just kill better than the other class. And the people are like, what the hell?
That's pretty cool. Can you suck your own dick yet?
No, not yet. Damn. Our torsos
If you could suck your own dick, you probably wouldn't need a girlfriend anymore.
Our torsos are too long for that to happen.
Yeah. So that's why you need the guy in there to bend you.
Can you?
No, I can't.
Okay, well.
That's why I have a wife. No, I'm joking. I love my wife. She doesn't even do that, so it doesn't even matter. I am happy to have her in my life.
Wow.
I am very excited about our next guest. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He's a fellow thespian. He was also the president of LPA for 2 terms. LPA is Little People of America. Yep. He's been in Water for Elephants, which was a great movie. And then the newest movie that he was just in was Nightmare Alley, which got awards or nominated for awards. And then also, he just finished doing a one-man play in England called The Adventures of Benjamin Lay. I want to welcome my buddy, my friend, Mark Povinelli. Yeah, Mark.
What's up, Mark? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Let's get you mic'd up. Yeah.
I feel like I'm like in trouble by my parents sitting on this couch.
Are your parents?
You guys are like huge. What is the deal? No, my parents are average height.
Okay. Your parents are okay.
I guess we're on the spectrum of dwarfism. We're on the bigger side.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, bigger heads too.
Well, bigger heads. Bigger everything.
This guy looks a little bit more normal than we do.
Well, I'm all legs. I'm legs, and you guys are all torsos.
We're torsos.
Yeah. So I'm and I got a fused neck, so I'm like,
Do not to be rude or nothing. I mean, I'll let anybody can ask me anything about dwarfism. Do you I can't think of his name. I'm spacing it because my brain's going 20.
Billy Barty?
No, not Billy Barty. The guy from Little People, Big World.
Matt Roloff.
Matt Roloff.
Yeah.
Do you have the same dwarfism as Matt Roloff?
I do not. He's got dystrophic dwarfism.
Okay.
And I have spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, SED.
Oh,
but they've got, I know, right?
The dystrophic dwarfism. That sounds like really
It sounds like some fascist regime. The dystrophics are coming.
And they're going to space.
Some kind of crazy storm is coming, and you don't want to be there for it.
Right.
Dystrophic.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but there's like 200 and, well, depending on what medical journal you read, there's between 200 and 400 types of dwarfism.
Yes.
So you guys are the most common, and mine is fairly common, but not like you guys. You guys dominate the dwarf world.
We're the average dwarfs.
Yeah, you are, yeah. The standard dwarves.
Standard issue, yep. Stamp and go.
Right.
I love your hair, Mark. I like
thank
this
you.
new thing that you got going. I haven't seen you probably like since COVID
Is that right?
happened. Yeah, I mean, we've talked on the phone a few times, but yeah, I'm digging this look for you, man. It's sexy. You're You're like the George Clooney of little people, dude.
He is.
Super sexy.
You are.
You're like a silver fox,
Well,
man.
I cannot suck my own dick either, so not that sexy, I guess.
No, but dude, it's working for you, man.
Thanks.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One day, goals. We all have goals now.
We can all dream, right?
We can all dream.
Like with your
Thank you.
dwarfism, you guys don't have the big foreheads.
Well, we have no neck,
Okay.
clearly, and
I can see a little bit of a neck.
a little bit if I stretch really hard. Yeah, I always get this like non-tan right here.
Yeah.
yeah, and I get the jaw cover. You
Yeah.
know, we have shorter limbs. We're kind of like the diametric opposite of Akons, basically.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So I'm pretty much. My wife has achondroplasia also,
She's an Akon dwarf.
she's an Akon, and standing up, we're basically the same height. And then we sit down, and it's like me with you.
It's like this.
It's like
Yeah, we
I'm
got
at the
long
kiddie
torsos.
table.
Yeah.
yeah.
And how long have you been married for?
It'll be 25 years in a
25
couple
years.
months. Yeah.
Which is like 50 years here in Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah.
It's like 75 in Hollywood.
It was it was my 9-year anniversary 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
No, actually, it was yesterday. Yeah.
You might want to remember that next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
we
no
didn't-
trust me. I'm remembering it.
We didn't work.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was our first date that we ever went on. It was 2010, and then the date that is the date of our marriage.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, right?
It's beautiful. It's touching. It's great. No, I do.
9 years.
Yeah.
Like 13.
You wouldn't know nothing about that, Jason.
13 years together, though.
Yeah,
13 years together, 9.
Oh.
Yeah, I tried marriage once.
You got married before?
Yeah, and I got it annulled
Wow.
because we owned nothing and we were done in 3 months.
So why annul? Like, what was it about getting it wiped off the books rather than just walking away?
Because then to make sure in the future, if I did have anything, which I ended up having, nothing.
You
could
lucky
change.
son of a bitch. No.
Somebody was a businessman very early
So
on.
many people thought I lost like half, and I'm like, no. When it happened, I had nothing.
So this was before Jackass or anything? You got
before.
married?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. For 3 months.
That was your first practical stunt, right?
Yeah, that was
And then
stunt.
is that when you guys started living together, or did you guys live together
Oh,
before?
no, we were already living together.
Oh, and
this
then,
this was like when I rushed into things right away and learned a lot from it.
so in order, like, I mean, it must have been really bad to like go as far as like getting it annulled, where you're like, I
Done.
can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
done. I don't
Yeah.
need. Must have been some crazy fights and
Crazy arguments, everything. Yeah. Just totally disagreed on every level.
damn, man.
Like what color the sky is, even like to that level.
She's like,
But
the
it's-
Earth is flat. You're like, no, it's round.
But it's good. No, enough about me.
Wow, dude.
We're learning all kinds of
Enough
things
about you. That is serious shit. Why didn't you ever tell me this?
You didn't know? I
No,
thought you
no.
knew. Wow.
No, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
But
Mark-
on a last note, she's died. She's dead.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
she
the one
passed
that
away.
hit her head.
Hit her head and went to sleep. Oh my god.
Wow.
I'm still in contact with her brother, and her brother told me she passed. She was up in the middle of the night, hit her head, went to sleep, never woke up.
Whoa.
Yeah, isn't that gnarly?
That's pretty serious, too.
But I mean, you kind of want to go that way if you think about it. You're like, oh, I hurt my head, I'm going back to sleep.
It's the Bob Saget way, yeah?
Is that what happened to Bob
Isn't that
Saget?
what happened to Bob Saget?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well,
I don't.
we'll Google it during the show. It'd be great.
Google it.
Can you tell us how Bob Saget passed away?
It was, yeah. I'm not gonna say
Caller.
that.
Caller? No, we have no callers. This
So,
is-
Mark, how long did you know as a kid that you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, I wanted to be a rock star. I think like everybody first.
Yeah.
And then I can't sing and I can't play any instruments, so that made it a lot harder to be a rock star. So the next best thing was acting.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was kind of nice in an insane way that I knew my whole life that that's what I wanted to do. And you know, so many of my friends are sitting there aimless, trying to figure out what they want to do. My son now is in college and he's freaking out, like, what do I do with my life? And I knew, but you know, it's like the worst idea ever.
And
so,
and your son, he's a little person too.
yeah, my whole
And-
both my kids have dwarfism. They're
That's
both Akons.
fucking awesome, man.
Yeah,
And your son is an Akon dwarf.
yeah, and daughter also.
Now,
Mom's Jeans won on that one.
God,
yeah, Mom's Jeans won.
I mean, that's,
Mom's Jeans won on that one.
it's pretty clear. Like, you just look at our family, you're like, okay, we know who's in charge.
Akon jeans are really strong because even Brad Williams had,
That's
with
right.
his average size wife, they have an Akon
daughter.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of common maybe. I have no idea.
It's,
to be honest,
it's a 25% like for us, or you and your wife, let's say, it'd be a 25% chance that, sorry, for you and your wife, it'd be 50% chance that they'd have dwarfism, 50% chance average height, just like Brad.
Yeah, that we discussed that before. And then with you and your wife.
So with us, it would be, there'd be a 25% chance they'd have my type of dwarfism, 25% chance they'd have achondroplasia, 25% chance they'd be average height and have neither gene, and 25% chance they'd have both, which is fatal. So there's like a high.
We talked about
scary
that.
Yeah, that's you know. I'm glad that that it was right what I was saying because I read that and sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble.
Yeah. I mean, if you, 75% seems high until you get pregnant, and then you're like, that's not a good enough odd, you know, to be going through this comfortably.
Yeah.
So then you were saying, I'm sorry to cut you off. You were saying that you went to college for acting.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. But I wasn't so sure that I wanted, like, I didn't have the confidence. Nobody in my family was an actor or an artist. So the business seemed a million miles away. I went to college in Southern Ohio. And
is that where you're from? You're from Ohio?
Well, I grew up in Maryland, but I was born in Ohio, and we moved back when I went to college to Cleveland.
Okay.
And I went to school at Miami of Ohio, which is in Southern Ohio. And so I got a mass communications degree, which I have no idea what that means, but that was my degree, and I got a minor in theater because I was too freaked out to think I can't walk out of here with a theater degree and expect to have any use for the past 4 years.
But be something in the world.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Bank of America and you want to be a loan agent, and they're like, well, your master's degree is in theater. You can act like you'll be a loan agent, but you're not a loan agent.
Or even worse, try to get a loan.
Yeah.
And say, I have an acting degree. Good luck.
Yeah.
So you got your degree and you moved to Hollywood.
No, I got my degree. And I went back to Cleveland and tried to get a job in advertising.
Okay.
Because I was like, this is stupid. This is a terrible idea to go and be an actor. And I kind of tanked every interview I had because I think I just knew that this isn't what I wanted to do. And a buddy of mine lived in Minneapolis, and he's like, what are you doing? Come up here. It's a great theater town. You know, try it for 6 months. And if you don't like it, you're 22 years old. You can do whatever you want after that. And I didn't have a good answer for him to say no. So I moved up there and did theater in Minneapolis in these tiny little basements, but got experience and got okay.
Got your feet wet.
Yeah. And I did. I mean, it's like you with, doing stand-up.
Yeah.
You start at the bottom. There's 5 people in the room, and you work your shit out, and then you get confident, you get good, and by the time I was 28 or 29, I was like, okay, I can move out to L.A. Because I was afraid if I moved out here at 22, I'd just get eaten alive. I'd just be doing all kinds of gag roles and have no confidence, and that would be it.
Next thing you know, you're on Hollywood Boulevard.
Dressed as Tyrion Lannister.
right, if only, yeah, spinning a song.
They'll be like, that. You're the wrong dwarf, dude. We're not buying it.
Right. Yeah.
So, back to kids, because you did mention it.
Yeah.
Were you, because Pancho and I have discussed this, we both said no kids.
Okay.
We discussed it with girlfriends we've had or whoever. But with you, were you ever like, I don't know if I want kids? There's a fine line. Like, how did you feel knowing you were going to be a dad and what the world was like?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always...
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good question. So there's a lot of angles to it, I think. I knew I wanted... I love being an actor, and I love it because I'm a pretty safe, straightforward guy. Okay. And acting gives me a chance to, explore all the darkness and all the, extremes of what's inside of me, but without having to exercise it in real life.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted, a regular, traditional kind of family or whatever. I mean, Pancho, you've been in my house. It's I have a yard, and I have cats, and I have a dog, and I have kids and a wife. It's like so
Fence.
nuclear. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all normal.
So it was like, this was my way. Like, I always knew, like, I needed that because the acting thing was so unstable and so not kind of like comfortable with me that I needed this stability thing, or I wanted it. And of course, when we got pregnant, I freaked out. Like, I can't do this. And like, how am I going to support a family and all that in this business? And it's been, like everybody says, it's like the most amazing thing that's ever happened to
me. When you were, he's a great dad. He's a great dad. I wanted to ask, when you were a kid, were you always a part of LPA?
I was,
since a child, but even having average-sized parents, did they introduce you to it, or did you kind of find it on your own?
No, they. So we lived in Maryland, and Johns Hopkins Hospital is, at the time and still is, one of the premier skeletal dysplasia clinics in the world. And so I hadn't been diagnosed. They knew something was up. I mean, clearly, but they didn't know what. And it took until I was like a year and a half. They went to Johns Hopkins and they diagnosed me with dwarfism. And they were like, hey, and there's this organization to my parents. Why don't you go check this out? And, I mean, your parents are average height, and they all freak out. Understandably, like, I didn't expect this. This is not my experience. What am I doing? How do I do this? And that's what LPA was great for my parents. Was just to meet other parents who had been through it and been like, you know what, it's going to be fine. Your kid's going to be okay. And so I was just in it, and I didn't give a crap about it. When I was young, I was like, these guys all look weird.
Same.
And, and
that's
this
what we were
is
talking about,
strange. And I got my friends back in school. Why do I have to hang out with
That's
these?
exactly what I said. My mom took me to a little people's convention for the first time. And I came back, and I'm like, Mom, these people aren't like my
They're
friends.
Freaks. Yeah,
they're talking about other stuff than what my friends and I talk about. I'm like, no, I don't need to go back anymore. I'm fine.
Yeah. That was me too. And my first conference. So these are like the local meetings. My first conference, I was 12. My mom and I went into St. Louis, and she got up in the room, and she didn't want to like go and hang out. She's the average height mom. She's like, go downstairs and to the lobby and meet people. And I freaked out. I was like, they're not like me. I was so uncomfortable. And I went downstairs, walked in the lobby, saw all the little people, made a right turn to the stairwell, and climbed up and down 26 flights of stairs for like a couple of hours. And then went back up to my room to tell my mom, like, oh, yeah, I was down there, and I met people.
What age were you when this was happening?
12.
12, wow.
I think I was around from 10 to 13, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Maybe even younger.
Did you get to meet Billy Barty?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I did, too.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Pete?
I don't know.
I used to go to his house.
Yeah, his house is great.
I used to go to Billy Barty's house.
Out here?
Yeah.
He had a house out here. And
in the valley.
Go to his house.
Yeah.
And I used to go to his house in the valley.
Toluca Lake.
Yeah. Toluca Lake. Didn't he have twin daughters?
No, he has a average height son and a LP daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually have Billy Barty's golf clubs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he gave them to me. Before he passed away, I got on the board of the Billy Barty Foundation and ended up somehow basically being his unpaid personal assistant for like the last, for 6 months. And I'd go over to his house and he'd tell me all these crazy ideas he had, like him and Emmanuel Lewis were going to go and do a show in Vegas, and it was great. It was so much fun. And then I'd take him to Rite Aid and get ice cream, and he'd like drive around in his scooter and everybody'd be like, Billy Barty, and I just stand next to him and like pay for it and like back off, the whole thing. It was a riot. Yeah, he was great.
That's How old are you, by the way?
52.
52, okay. Yeah. I'm 50. Punch, 47.
Right. I knew we were all kind of in the same deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go hang out with Billy Barty myself. Yeah. He was the coolest dude.
Now, was he passed away pre-Jackass. So.
Oh, this was when I was a kid.
Because he died in 2000, I think.
I
was way
before I even was like teenager or whatever.
Right.
That when I was younger and I went to a couple little people conventions and then met him, and then my mom and dad would take me like once or twice to hang out at his house, and then that was about it. And one day my uncle said we were somewhere, and I turned around to my uncle and said, I'm going to be way more famous than Billy Barty. And my uncle's like, okay, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. No, but yeah, he was awesome. Down to earth, funniest guy, loved life to the fullest. Like, great example.
You go around a conference, and especially people like our age and above, and almost to a person, you talk to somebody and they're like, I got in this organization because of Billy Barty. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody in my family saw him on TV talking about LPA, and then, they told me to go to it. Or I met him in a grocery store and he like got me involved. And it's remarkable what an impact.
I wish I had that man, like, to kind of like navigate me to kind of go and kind of be a part of that, because I had like a really bad experience with as far as like joining LPA. It just kind of made me feel a little bit more alone than I already was, and I believe I've told you this.
Yep.
It was
really
let's
discuss.
Yeah, we can discuss it, and I will never name names because I have the utmost respect for all these people.
Yeah.
But I was doing a commercial in, I think, Connecticut. It was a Foxwood Casino commercial, and they hired like 8 of us to play leprechauns.
Okay.
And there was this guy that he was older and little person that I kind of grew fond of. Like, he was like almost like a mentor, like kind of guiding me through this kind of like acting industry. I was very young. I didn't know anything about it. And so there was a moment, and I took a liking to this guy for a while, and we would go to auditions together, and he would kind of tell me, kind of just help me out for the most part. And we were out there, and we kind of got in this conversation while we were on the train, and he was just not on the train. Yeah, it was on the train, and we were on our way to Foxwood, and he was just like, and I was dating a tall woman at the time, an average sized girl, and basically he's like, Pancho, what do you want to do in this life? Like, because, you're never going to be taken serious as an actor. And I was like, shit, he's like, so do you have any other plans? And I was like, well, like I want to pursue real estate. He's like, no one is ever going to buy a house from a little person. It was very, and I was like, well, he's like, you see a hot girl or a little person, who are you going to go? It's going to be, and I was like, what? Like, he had a different, like, outlook on it. And then everything I was kind of telling him with the questions, he was just kind of knocking down. And then he was like, and do you see yourself with an average sized woman like your whole life, or have you ever tried dating a little person? I was like, no, I never have, because there were just never any around. And then he's like, because the average sized girl is never going to look at you the same way as a little person, woman would. You guys are at eye level, everything's the same, so that is just a fantasy. And then he said something I'm like, kind of just bashing everything I ever accomplished. I'm like, well, I was a professional skateboarder, like I did that. And he's like, yeah, but that you were only a professional skateboarder because you're a little person. It wasn't because you were, like really good or anything. Like, he didn't even know about like the level of skateboarding that like we both were on. And it just got to the point where everything I said was bashing. He's like, you got to stick with your own kind. And I was like, what is my own kind? He's like, little people. And I was like, dude, like, my mom is tall, my dad is tall, both of my brothers are tall, like all my friends are tall, like average sized people. I'm like, they've never talked to me the way you just did, which is so mean. It made me feel like, from this guy's perspective, of it being like segregated, like, and so because of that, I just never. It's not that I never wanted to be a part of it. I just felt that it wasn't for me. And now, as being older, my age, I wish I never. Not that I never met that guy, but I wish we never had that combo, because I think I definitely would have been more a part of it and embraced it a lot more. And that was just what I got out of it, like the segregation, and it's definitely not that.
Well, the interesting thing about LPA is, or even just our community, is that we're brought together by a physical attribute. Mm-hmm. It's not an ideology or a shared interest, or there's no, like, it's not that we believe in the same thing.
Exactly. So you not a religious thing.
Yeah. So you get all kinds, you get the whole spectrum of people. And so you're not going to get along with everybody, and you're not going to like bond and connect with everybody. We do have shared experiences, which then when you do make those connections is incredible. Like I'm assuming like, you know, you guys, when you talk about skateboarding, you guys are on a different level talking about skateboarding than you with average height guys.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
Totally.
And that's, and you know,
Absolutely.
like our childhood experiences of like going to school, like they're going to be really similar, even though we had completely different environments and parts of the country. So that's what, like, once you find the connections, they go deeper. But finding the connection initially, it's all a bunch of cliques, and it's everybody insecure, and it's like high school, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And trying to find your place in high school is hard, and doing it like at 25 in a week is really hard, you know, like at one of these conferences.
Yeah. And is that where you met your wife?
I did. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you were did you meet your wife while you were president?
No, he's been
because
married.
I was going to say,
not a Monica Lewinsky sort of situation.
I was going to say, wow, she went for the big dog of the convention. She's like, yeah, who do I go for here? El Presidente.
So you guys, how long have you guys been married for?
Almost 25 years.
25 years.
And I definitely upgraded. Like, I was the one who, like, punched above my class with her.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we met... Well, I met her when I was 14, and she met me when I was 16.
At an LPA convention.
Yeah, she doesn't remember meeting me the first time, but I do. And we were friends for a long time, and which is great. Like, that was... it's miserable dating somebody that's across the country and that young. Because she was in California, and I was in Maryland and Ohio. But the one thing it does is it gets you to be good friends first.
Yep.
And so that works, because, you know, we are really great friends.
Are you guys super similar in your ways and stuff?
No.
No?
Not at all. No, we're... I mean, I think that's why we work, is because...
I feel that's why it works, too. Even with me and my wife, we're so different. She's very book smart. Mm-hmm. I'm very street smart, and it's just opposites attract like that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely... Like, we have shared interests. Like, we like a lot of the same shows and same music and that sort of thing. Yep. But, like, how we navigate life is totally different. And and it's hilarious, like, raising kids that way, because it is, you know, all the comedian jokes about, like, I do it this way and my wife does it this way. And I'm like, yep.
Now, when you were going to college or when you were younger, before you met your wife, did you ever date any tall women?
I did.
And
My wife's pretty much the only little person I ever dated.
Okay.
Yeah. And it
just clicked with you guys.
Yeah, like it totally did. It was one of those. I really didn't have a vision in my head like I want to marry a little person or I want to marry an average height person. It's just I wanted to marry her, you know.
Awesome. That's the way it should be. Yeah. It shouldn't matter. I wish you would have went to LPA conventions, Punch, because now that I remember, when I was younger and I first started dating, I did go to another LPA convention. It was a weekend one. I actually met a little person's sister who was average height and started talking to her for a little while. So it's pretty funny. Like, you don't go there to go, oh, I'm going to only meet this person. Or
Yeah, I know not a bunch, but I know a handful of people that dated the same thing. Like, dated average height people that they met at conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with the becoming the LPA president, how does that work?
You got to be dumb enough to take the job, I think. Yeah. I mean, there's an election. It's like a, you know, kind of, it seems sort of charming and ridiculous, but there's a national election, and you put your name in, and you have to be on the board. I was on the board before that. So you have to have a position of leadership to become president, which I had. But that's really the only qualification. You have to be a paid member, and you have to have served in a position, and you have to want to do the job, which I guess I did.
And that was an everyday thing, right?
I mean, kind of. I mean, I didn't want it to be, and it shouldn't be, but because it's a volunteer position. But there's just so much to do. It's an 8,000 person organization. It's been around 65 years, and you're like putting on these big conferences. You're dealing with like all the local events. You're dealing with like the media and our representation in the media, and like pharma and medical issues, and
because you're getting all the doctors, the specialized doctors for dwarfisms to come to these conventions,
right? And you also, like, right now we're getting these and not to get too heavy, but there's this, and maybe you guys have talked about this. There's a new drug that came out about 2 years ago that is basically it's not a growth hormone, but it's a growth velocity. It works on growth velocity. You get an injection as a kid every day, and you gain for acons, only for acons, and you gain anywhere from, I mean, it's like, I think it's 0.2 centimeters a year, so what ends up being like 6 to 8 inches.
You have to get it every day.
You have to get it every day.
And it's got to start as a kid
until you want to keep having this expanded growth.
That's insane. When I was a kid,
I wonder what the side effects are to something like that.
Well, there's no side effects that they know of, but it's just kind of crazy because there's no real benefit other than you just grow taller.
A couple inches, though. Yeah. It's not even nothing extreme.
It's nothing extreme. You're still going to look like an Akon. You're just going to be an Akon who's...
You're going to be the taller Akon.
You're going to fit in neither place, maybe? Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom showed me an article of, and this was back in the day, in the 70s, of where they put these bolts through your limbs, both arms and legs, and every day they broke your bones little by little so that the bone would grow in between. And it showed the outcome of this little person who did it for like maybe 6 months on each, limb to grow a little taller. And I told my mom, hell no.
I actually know a family. I know a kid, younger kid, whose parents made him do that. They're very religious parents, and they made the kid go through this whole thing, and it didn't really do anything but just make the rest of his life a living hell. Like, he's just in pain.
Yeah.
Scars everywhere. Like,
well, and that's
what's
not
so cool because even like, I think people don't know enough about it that like when your child's born and this is happening and you just want them to be normal or whatever you want them to be, that someone approaches you with this, you become their guinea pig, and they don't really know too much about it. Like, they can't promise you anything.
On the drug that just came out, has there been anybody that's come to the conventions that said, oh, okay, this drug was released, I did it for so long, and this is like, this is
the
what's
outcome.
Happened. Yeah. Like, has there been anything
that's like approved?
Yeah, an example of.
Right.
I don't want to say an example of a person, but an example that this is the drug. We got it approved. Here's little
like this
Timmy.
Works.
Yeah.
And now little Timmy's big Timmy.
Yeah, I mean, the drug was approved roughly a little under 2 years ago, and kids were in trials for maybe 3 to 4 years at most before that. So the longest example you would have of somebody
is
on
a 5-year-old.
Is like and they wouldn't been able to start the trial until they were like over 5 years old.
Okay.
So it'd be like a 10 to 15-year-old probably, and so you're seeing partial results now, and we don't know where that will end up.
Have you seen these partial results?
I mean, there are people that you're kind of like, oh yeah, I bet that kid's on the growth velocitor. So they're there, and they, they look like taller Akons.
I've seen. Yeah,
and it's like, it's a funny thing because we want to tell parents, just like you said, I thought you said it well, that these parents come along and they want the best for their child, and they think, well, I'm tall, and that is normal for me, so I want to make sure my kid gets what I get. That's an instinct of a parent, is to give them what you had, if it was seemingly a positive thing. And so they're going to be pushed towards wanting to do this because they are being told by these doctors and these clinicians that it's a good thing and that there aren't really side effects. So then you just kind of balance that with like, what's the lived experience?
Yeah, my friend of mine says that like he's got like PTSD like from the nights where they would like crank that thing to like make it to extend his legs a little bit more. Yeah. Like, it was just like the noise of it, just like. I'm like,
you've broken a bone, right, Punch?
Yeah,
you know that crack sound that you hear when it happens? That's the gnarliest feeling and sound. Yeah. Like, it's a boom.
But going through that, like,
every day. No way. That's why, like, when my mom was one that said, let's show you I want to open the world of everything for you. If you want to do this, go for it. If you don't. But there it is.
And it'd be one thing if, like, we all were in institutions or lived in our parents' basement or like had no lives, you know? And then you go, well, maybe it's worth it. But I mean, I think this couch is an example of like you can have a thriving life. Yes. And you don't need it. Like maybe you want it, whatever, but it's not the only option. You can live your complete life in our condition and have a great life.
Exactly.
I have a question for you because we've discussed this before, and I already kind of gave my perspective of it. And this is totally segueing into a different subject. We're going to talk. I wanted to ask you something about acting and like with what is happening nowadays. Like, I totally got a different like kind of like from when Peter Dinklage talked to Mark Maron on the podcast, and then everyone made this big fuss that he made it hard. I don't think that's what he was trying to say. What is your perspective on what Peter was trying to say as far as like being progressive with little people, like in movies like Snow White?
Yeah, I mean,
because he's your friend.
Yeah, I love Peter. He's amazing, and I think it was 55 minutes into an interview.
Yeah,
and he just sort of said something that didn't mean to carry the weight it did, and it's kind of hilarious how I'm sure this has happened to you a bit. I mean, I saw you got tagged on TMZ about like you're coming out of a coffee shop or something. They're like, what do you think of Willy Wonka? You're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you answered it really well, but it's like those kind of gotcha questions can't be easy.
They did get me, and I had to like, I'm pretty fast-witted at thinking, and I was like, hey, okay, maybe they are taking jobs away. It's not taking a job away from me where I'm like, oh my God, you know, but make it better for people, you know? And we've said this, like, granted, we're not, I mean, somebody can be, there's, you know, I'm surprised, I'm very excited that you did a one-man show. To me, that's amazing. And I'm glad that theater even let you do that opened that up. So to me, I hope there's more jobs for little people like that. But also, there are some people, we discussed that during Christmas time, holidays, or whatever, they get excited because that's a paycheck.
Yeah, and that's been like every year.
Every year, you know, okay, well, you know what? I got to suck it up and I got to be the elf, or I got to suck it up and do this. They haven't figured out something else in life to do. So for them, I think it's easy money too, and it's a lot of money. Yeah, and you take that away, and you're like, no, you know, we don't need you little people anymore. We have computers and we have average people. It's a heartburn to them, you know. It's a cut to the throat, and it's like, wow. And that's what I meant by it. It's like, don't take jobs away now,
right?
You know.
And like, I think the Wonka thing is so interesting because it's like as soon as you decide that these, you know, pretty awful representations of dwarfism. Like, I don't think anybody's going, God, I want to be an Oompa Loompa. Like, I wish
no one is doing that.
It's a demeaning. I mean, you're basically a set piece. You're like a pet, you know, as that. Nobody's wanting to play that. But it's interesting that as soon as they decide we're going to give the Oompa Loompa like character and lines and like jokes and make him an interesting character and integral to the part of the story, they remove the dwarfism part.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I find. Like, okay, fine. If you're going to do an Oompa Loompa, then reimagine it. And reimagine it in a respectful, like, interesting way that a little person can play.
Yes.
But you're claiming to reimagine it and then take away the little person aspect of it. It's like doubly insulting.
Well, totally. what I was saying too is, if you're going to go as far as like putting our arms and legs on Hugh Grant, then why not just hire a little person?
I mean, that is the worst.
Or
part
even
about it.
Did you go on that? You went on the Snow White and the Huntsman.
Oh yeah, ages ago.
Remember 2016?
Well, and The Hobbit was the same. Lord of the Rings
and like
was the same
they
way.
just added arms and legs to these average sized people, and I just always wondered like why go through that trouble? Why not just hire a little person to play these roles?
Right.
You know, we're not all dying to be like the next Snow White and the Seven Dwarves or the Oompa Loompa or any of that, but the jobs for little people in this industry are so scarce that like those jobs would be great because they pay a lot of money.
Well, and I think, you know, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this too, but It's because there's also, except for Dinklage, there's no other representation out there. It's not like, oh, Pancho's playing an Oompa Loompa today, and tomorrow he's playing a lawyer, and the next day he's playing a father, and the next play he's playing a hitman. Like, you're just getting offered the Oompa Loompa. So, you know, like, the guy playing Santa Claus next to the elf isn't being ridiculed about how dare he dress up in a red suit because, you know, Tim Allen has then got his own TV show the next year and people love him. They think it's great. But the elf standing next to him, they're like, you can't play that part. You know, that's demeaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being the president of LPA, did you ever have a say? Like, did like when productions or networks or companies were making some of these movies, did they come to LPA like to kind of get like the okay, or I don't know how any of that works?
Before you answer this too, it's an added question. I saw you were on a panel with SAG and AFTRA, so you do have kind of a voice in the Screen Actors Guild with it. So that's what I want to add to it.
Yeah, they largely don't come to us.
Okay, I wouldn't think.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I mean, I did. I mean, I'll be honest here. I'm consulting with Disney on their Snow White project, but they found me, you know, largely through acting and through SAG and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I said to them, look, I'm the president of LPA, and there's like, we have to remove that title from this contract because I am not representing, in my opinion, on what you all should do in this film. My opinion does not represent Little People of America. It represents me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, because Little People are going to have all kinds of opinions on it, and I don't want to be the spokesperson for the whole thing.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
feel like that's how like certain little people feel about Peter Dinklage, and the way he speaks about it is that he is not the voice of the little people. You know,
and I don't even think he was.
I don't think he thinks he is either.
Yeah, he doesn't, and he wasn't even speaking. I mean, I think he had a pretty simple thought, which was, you're working at cleaning up the misrepresentation and all these horrible stereotypes from the original film with Snow White, and you know, like giving her empowerment, which is fantastic, and
also making her Latina too,
and making it diversified that way, and yet you're going to have 7 dwarves who live in as he said, a cave, and live in a cottage, and all like be infantilized and desexualized and creepy, like, and also have no personality beyond their name. You know, like, what is Sneezy's personality? Nothing. He sneezes. Like, it is. So he was like,
that's
so
what I think he was getting at.
You're not
going
to update that, but you're going to update everything else.
The context was taken wrong, and I get it now. Yeah. Totally.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought. I'm like, because when me and my wife were re-listening to it, I'm like, I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think, you know, that's what he meant. Like, it doesn't sound like that. I'm getting something different out of it, and
he was calling,
which was more positive rather than, you know,
he was calling these.
He maybe just didn't word it the way he should have. I don't know.
Or, you know, everybody takes, like you said, a soundbite and turns it into whatever they want to.
Oh, absolutely.
To further their narrative, you know. And it's interesting because it's like everybody on the way up with Peter, and, you know, maybe you felt this to some degree, like pushes and like champions him, and then when he hits the apex, it's like, douche, you know, just wants to knock him down. Like, we do that.
Totally.
We do that with people. Like, oh, isn't that great? Weeman's on TV and doing all this stuff, and then like as soon as you get the paycheck or like the notoriety, then it's like, well, who the fuck is that guy? And like,
Oh, that's everybody though.
Yeah.
And that's the funniest thing in the world. Everybody has your back when you're at the bottom, but once it's money, it's a whole different game. And it's funny, but that's the world anyway. That could be the world for someone who wins the big lottery.
That's what we talk about too. Like in one of the episodes, and with skateboarding, it was always we didn't even know each other. I knew that there was another little person skateboarder because we were in the same magazine, and we were both sponsored. But with skateboarding, every interview I ever had and every interview he ever had, it was always about like. The question was always like, so who's better, you or Weeman? and you weren't asking all these other big time skateboarders, average size dudes, so who's better, pinning you against another person. That never happened. But for some reason, we were always getting asked that question. And guess what? We were entering the same contest as everybody else. We didn't have our own separate contest.
We had to skate against the average dudes.
Yeah. So you should be asking, like,
it wasn't us skating against and that. Okay, you got first this week. I got first. You know, it wasn't that.
So
it was us against them.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was everyone against everyone.
Yeah.
You know. So it was just always that question to kind of like. I didn't even like this guy and I didn't even know him. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, and I think that tends to happen a lot with people that are different. You know?
Well, and I mean, what I find,
I get it, but like,
like what's always been great hanging out with you as an actor, and like I came from theater where it's like you work in a basement, nobody's making any money, you pull in costumes from your closet, and you're all like a team trying to put something together. And so I came out here, and it was shocking that I would go to these auditions with all these little people, and they'd all be like. Shooting me daggers, trying to kill me, like acing me out and psych me out. I'm like, we're like all in this together, man. And and it was not like that.
Very competitive.
Very competitive.
I think the actors world is very competitive in general.
Well,
but it was different with little people. I got that same vibe.
I came out of here, I was like, whoa, like total. I have to like reframe. Like I'd have guys try to psych me out in an audition. I thought it was so funny. I'm like, really? You're gonna like? You think in the green room, you know, before I go in, you're gonna like psych me out? But all right, whatever.
I think it was more of like, I always felt like I was the new guy because I was, and then I had these older guys that weren't jealous of me or anything. They just were trying to psych me out and kind of get me out of the room, eliminate the competition before I even go in.
Yeah.
You know?
And meanwhile, you're like going in for like an Elf in a Christmas commercial. You're like, really? Like
I'm like, dude. We don't even have lines, dude. We're just gonna like really dance around and like sing, go yippee, you know.
In India, the country, we went and shot Jackass, and we hired a bunch of little people, Indian dudes, and they were in a room, and they were all together in tighty whities and underwear, because what was gonna happen was this was the big Preston chases me around a corner. Now I have my crew, and now we chase Preston. It was the final ender of that.
Right.
But they all were there like hour before me, getting ready, getting into wardrobe. And they were, I was looking down the hall, and I could see them all excited, like, woohoo, we're here. So I put on my underwear and t-shirt and came in, and they were smaller dwarfs too. There might have been a couple Acons, but the rest were smaller dwarfs. And they all looked at me like, who's this white guy? Taller than and wearing the like same out. Is he gonna steal all our jobs? And I'm like, no, we're in this same bit together.
Yeah, we're all in it
But
together.
it was the funniest feeling ever to walk into a room where they're all sitting there like,
you guys are all dressed the same.
Oh yeah, tidy whities and tank tops.
In India, I didn't realize. I mean, there's a lot of people there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, yeah. I mean,
there's little people there too, dude.
We were talking about it in one of the episodes, and you probably have a better knowledge of it. I was saying that we looked it up. My wife and I looked it up, and in the entire world, there's like 650,000 little people, like people with dwarfism. And in America, there's like 66,000 people with dwarfism, and like 10,000 of them are here in California. Something like that. Some statistics like that.
I mean, it's basically 1 in every 25,000 births. So just do the math. You know, if there's 350 million people in this country, what's 25,000 into 350 million, whatever the math is.
Yeah,
I'm an actor. I don't know what it is.
I'm good with math, but that's a big number thrown at me right now at this time.
Yeah,
but I'm
You're
like
throwing some big numbers at me, Mark.
I'm sorry, man. This is your podcast. You should have this.
Triggering.
No, I'm very good with math, and I can do numbers quick. But that one, I was like, whoa.
Is that from all the drugs you used to sell?
I never sold drugs. I never even did drugs.
I know. You're just a drinker.
Yeah.
You're not. I did the other stuff.
You did the other stuff. You're the party guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell.
I know, dude. Some guy told me. Some guy with cerebral palsy told me, he's like, I look like Brad Williams' mugshot after he got a DUI. I was like, really? Damn it. think it's like the bags on your mind.
That's gonna stick. I like that one.
I like that too. Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to get you a mug shot of you. Send it to TMZ.
Brad Williams have mug shots.
Yes. Brad Williams is in jail.
We need to we need to pass him out like on the front
of
sidewalk,
of the comedy store.
And take a photo and be like, Brad Williams just passed out.
No, we didn't ask you. Do you like our mini bar? This isn't just for you. This is for everyone.
Yeah,
so don't feel special.
It's very fancy. Yeah,
part of our whole thing.
I love it. I love it.
And we are in the works trying to get sponsored.
I can
by
see that.
Tootsie Roll Midgies.
It's not midgets.
No,
it's
it's
midgies.
Yeah,
it's very
midgies.
very
So,
respectful. Yeah.
Speaking of the word, being disrespectful now, and speaking of the word midget,
right,
which a lot of people are very offensive about. Or little people are
offended about.
Yeah, well, people are offensive about it too.
And very offensive about it too. But I've always said I've been an open book. No, there's no way like I could be offensive about a word with what I do. And I think Punch feels the same. A few other people, feel different or feel the same about it. I noticed you were in a movie, Tiptoes.
Oh my God! Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Right.
Sort of. Kind of.
Like I'm barely in it, but absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the movie, and this is 2004.
Right.
They throw out the word midget a lot.
Yeah.
And they also use an average height person as a little person actor.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah. How are your thoughts on that? Because I'm flabbergasted.
Like, were you in a scene with him where you were trying not to laugh? Because you're like, dude, this is ridiculous. Why? How did they sell me on this one, dude?
That thing is insane. That's one of my favorite insanity, like little person experiences. I had one. I was like Matthew McConaughey's like childhood friend or something that I've one passing line. I don't even know if you see. I've never actually seen the movie. Like you
didn't go to the premiere.
Was there a premiere? I don't know. If I did, would have gone incognito. Yeah, it was totally offensive back then, but it was 2004. I'd been out here a couple years, and Dinklage. I knew Dinklage and I were about to be in a play together. That's how we met, and that was the first time I met him. Was on the set of.
You guys went on Tiptoes.
Yeah, and he had an actual part. I had one line. I was there 2 days, and he was there 2 months.
Okay.
But I was there the day that. Was the conference scene or the convention scene. So there's like 200 little people there, and Dinklage is like actually playing a part, and everybody else is just like, it's like
background.
It's like
extras.
The Wizard of Oz, you know?
Yep.
And he was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? You could tell he was like, what is happening here? I never have like really spent a long time talking to him about that movie.
Was he a part of LPA too?
No, he's never. As a kid, he was a little bit, but he's never really been.
Okay,
kind of like your all's experience. Like it just didn't work for him, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I wish it did though. That's my experience. It didn't work for me, but I wish it did. I think maybe if.
Well, it's not too late, man.
Yeah.
It's still there for you. You can still.
When's the next
home.
one? Since
Baltimore in July of 2024.
You want me to tell you something funny? It didn't work for me back then, and it certainly can now. But like a fun experience with my wife is she's not a very jealous person at all. At all.
Are you hinting out?
No.
Out to the world?
I was at a Lowe's up in Palmdale, and there's a little woman that works there. She's younger, pretty. And she was giving me a lot of attention. And my wife did this thing where I was talking to her face to face, just asking her a question for something was. And my wife, like, goes and stands between us. Like, so disrespectful. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, she's just like, we got to go now. And I was just like, and I was like, bye, since, and I was just like, I have never seen you get that jealous before. And it was because I was talking to another little woman and giving her my attention or something. And, I don't know. It was like, it was probably different for her than it was for me. But for me, it was just, I was just asking a question and we were talking and And my wife got really, like, she never gets jealous, and that was a really weird feeling. It felt kind of good.
Where you going with this on the 2024 Baltimore Little People Convention, bro?
I think that if I went, my wife would probably come with me and make sure I was a good boy.
Oh yeah, she'd be standing.
I was be on a choke chain.
I was gonna say Little Revolution should go there together.
A little live shows.
Live show.
Yeah,
little live show on Little Revolution.
Stop saying Lil.
Lil. when you got into that, I was like, where is he going? You got excited about the next convention.
Because it was exciting. My wife never gets jealous, and that was awkward,
See, your wife's tapped in the reality that it's actually, we are the hotter species. Yeah. And so, like, all these average height people are starting to figure this out. Like, wait a minute, they've got it figured out.
They're just average.
Yeah,
they're just average.
Yeah. And she's getting all jealous because
sometimes when we're doing this show, we'll know it's good because you just see his head shaking.
Chair, Bob.
His head is just shaking.
You don't know what he's doing in that chair.
Yeah.
What are you doing in that chair?
I just see the chair shaking from behind.
Oh, we're going now.
Yeah.
Baltimore 2024, here we come. I need to see Pancho at an LP convention.
Why do you need to see me there? I need to see you there.
Dude, hotel lobby, night punch.
I'm going to the dance.
Oh, you'll be, dude. You will be John Travolta on the dance floor.
I'll stumble into the dance floor with my bad back.
I need to see that.
Oh wow! But I say on this happy ender, on this good feeling, I say I think we're good.
You're good?
I'm good. You good?
Do you have any? Do you have anything coming out that you want to talk about? Do you want to plug
I'm on strike, man. I think
we're all on strike.
Yeah, you have to cut out every time I talked about a film because we're all on strike, right?
Yeah. We can't talk about it.
Right.
Well, if it's an indie film, you could talk about that.
Yeah.
You only talked about one, and you were barely in it.
That's true. I didn't like it.
You didn't even have a SAG.
Don't go see it.
You didn't even have a SAG card.
No, he needs to see it because we're going to talk about it.
Oh yeah, you need to see it.
See,
I'm like, you got to see the part where Gary Oldman runs on his knees.
Oh my God, it's the fun. I have seen clips, and it is the most ridiculous thing ever. God.
And we were thinking, I'm like, what do you like? Do you think that is a movie that like Matthew McConaughey and like Gary Oldman like brag about? Is that
I don't think so.
No.
I bet all of them. I mean, the cast.
Because he's a good character actor, dude. Gary Oldman is amazing. One of my favorite character actors.
Amazing.
But you think that was a choice? You think that was like,
like how
Samuel L. Jackson on the Kingsman decided to have a lisp as a villain? Who's gonna tell him? No, dude, I think that's a bad idea, bro. Who's gonna tell Samuel L. Jackson that? No one. But Gary Oldman, like, if he was just like, no, I'm gonna play him.
I love the idea that so that movie was written about a little person, but I love the idea that he's in a film that's not anything to do with a little person. He's like, I got this idea. I'm gonna play him as a dwarf, and like to see what the director's like. Interesting. Okay, how are we gonna do that? Yeah, that's what I want to see.
They're like, no, we're not gonna do that, Gary. He's like, no, we're gonna do it.
I want Dinklage to be in a movie and be like, you know what? I'm playing him as an average height person.
Nice.
Yeah, and see what they do.
And they're like, all right, so are we gonna CGI? He's like, no. They're not gonna CGI nothing. I just want people. I want to see people truly act.
Matthew McConaughey's driving down the street right now, Sunset Boulevard, and he's like, you know what? This road looks really good. Looks about the road I was filming Tiptoes on. What an amazing movie. Yep. I'm just going to keep driving.
In his Lincoln?
Yeah, in his Lincoln.
Well, Mark, this was so awesome to have you on, man. You're a very huge inspiration to me. Me and him have done scenes at the Actors Studio together, and I'm sure that's something that they'll never forget.
Well, I bet, yeah.
Mark made it to his own theatrical show. Yeah. What happened to you?
I'm riding his coattails, dude.
Well, you better hold tight.
This guy always trying to throw me under the bus.
I'm kidding, Punch. I'm kidding.
No, it was really, really good to have you on the show, man. And this was the first time you ever met Jason, too, right?
No, we met before.
Actually, I have met Mark before.
And for some reason, dude, there was a time where I kept getting texts from you about your business. there must have been some other mark or something that like you'd be like, yeah, we got got another order coming in or whatever. I'm like, what
Really?
the hell from you? Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I think you got the wrong guy.
Oh, okay.
And but I told you to double the order.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I remember that now because you did say double the order. That's right. That's funny.
What business were you running?
Shady business.
Okay.
Shady, right.
Shady.
Speakers out of the back of a van?
Speakers out of the back of the van. Oh, real quick. Any job you ever had outside of acting or like anything?
Shittiest job.
Yeah,
Oh.
shittiest job you've ever had that was like, I got this job, I had to do it, but whatever.
Well, the most ridiculous job I ever took was I was a sales associate, like a seller of at Gap Kids. And so, like...
Shut the fuck up right now.
Like,
just shut up.
What?
Do not say that
I
to me.
swear to God. And
Why? Did you like the clothes or something?
Totally. Back then, this is like the early 90s. And, everything you would ever, like anything I could
my
shop
God.
for, because I did shop in the kids section, would have like a Garanimal on it or like a superhero. And I'm like, fuck this, man. I want some cool clothes. And Gap Kids came out and they got cool clothes. And there's a long story about how I got that job. It actually has to do with me lying about a production and saying that I had a job when I actually didn't because I wanted them to pay me more. And they were like, oh, well, that's funny. We're filming there the next week. And so I had to go down to Gap Kids and get a job there so I could be there when they were filming. I swear to God. And
No way.
it was insane. So then I had a job at Gap Kids. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here with a job? And but it was nuts because people would come in, average height people with their like 5-year-olds who are my height, and they'd turn around a rack of clothing and they couldn't see me, and I'd be like, hi, how you doing? And they'd be like, fuck! They'd freak out. And then you had to try and sell them clothes when like the kid's having like seizures and the mom's totally freaking
God,
out.
I just like imagine like the CEOs or something of like the manager going, "Hey, dude, we got the new voice of like Gap Kids," and they're like, "Meet Mark Povinelli." They're like, no, "We're gonna get so fucking sued, dude. We're gonna get so sued."
No, this is in the 90s. Anything was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. Yeah, we've all had shitty jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one, though. That one seems... Because he benefited out of it. He got clothes.
I got a 40% discount on
there we go.
90s flannels, man.
Nice.
Yeah, totally.
Hell yeah.
90s flannels.
He was Nirvana'd out.
I was.
Gap Kid Nirvana'd out. All you Gap kids that want to be like Nirvana, Mark's wearing the new outfit.
Who wants to be Kurt Cobain? Come on. You preschoolers?
So for me, I wear like a size extra large in kids.
You're so
and
hot.
Like I wear and then I wear like just normal size pants, like
Average size
men's
pants.
size pants, but like I cut them down like a little bit below the knees.
Right.
Can you wear just?
I
kids'
buy
clothes?
off the rack, so that's again like in the kids section though. It's like
But can you wear kids pants?
kids mediums. I have to get them altered a little bit. But
Yeah. But like I can't wear kids pants because Acons have huge asses.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
my ass does not fit in those.
But my options are pretty limited.
We're trying to get sponsorships here.
There you go. Yeah.
Good fella. Yeah.
We love Get Fella.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was great having you on the show, man. Like I said, huge inspiration. And I love what you do, man. I love your positive attitude. I love your family, man. Thank you for coming on. And
thrilled to be here. You guys are the best.
Thanks for having fun with us, too.
Yep.
It was
Very
awesome.
good.
Thank you. And thanks, Def Noodle, for having us. Let us use their spot. Putting out the midgies, putting out the minibar, everything. So, woohoo!
Yeah.
Happy days.